Good evening. Turn that down a smidge. Sorry about that. A little out of breath. I coughing right before you know the drill. Not any different today. So I'm out of breath. Good, I was like coughing my head off. Anyway, before I forget, and I want to make a reminder, not every day will there be a video of the day. And some days there may not be one at all. Other days I may forget to mention it. So it's not intentional, but if you see a video of the day in the description and I don't mention it, it's because I forgot. That's it. So anyway, man, I was thinking I'd have it caught back up by now. There was a video that I had watched. I think she may have put it out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, let me one second. Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to be able to bring up the full name of the video. Sorry about that. So the channel is Roots and Refuge Farm, and she did a video. I'm a new subscriber to their channel. They're a rather large channel. I knew nothing about them. I've been really watching. Literally, I have watched hours of hydroponic farming video over the last week, I guess. I've been spending a lot of time learning as much as I can, because when I do this, our project, I want to do it right. I want it to be successful. I want it to be beyond successful. I want it to have a wow factor to it. So anyway, that's how I know about the Roots and Refuge Farm channel, is because of some of her videos dealing with gardening. So anyway, she had done a video. They're getting ready to move. They're in the process of moving like halfway across the country. And it's a hell of a big undertaking. And she had done a video, and it was titled "Change is Hard." Lovely evening garden walk vlog. And I'm telling you, the link's in the description. I highly recommend that if you haven't seen the video, that after our show that you go and watch the video. Man, I'll tell you what, I had a lump in my throat the entire time, and I cannot tell you that I ended the video with a dry eye. And I don't know why. I guess I don't know. I think, for one, the presentation is everything. I think she is a very, very genuine person, and that comes through. But also, I have a uncanny ability to psychologically put myself in another person's shoes. Maybe not 100% totally, but I would say quite a bit more than the average person. And I don't know, it struck me. Apparently they had been there for like 7 years or so, which isn't, I mean, it's a fair amount of time, but I mean, it's not like it's a lifetime or 20, 30 years. But I'll tell you what, it definitely hit my gut. Good video. That actually, though, is not what led to today's topic. So we'll get to that here momentarily. Real quick updates. Got just about everything for the small grow tent. Just waiting on getting tees and the tubing now. That's it. Once I get the tees and the tubing, I can complete the drain system, and I'm going to try to initially start out with one dripper in each of the containers. And if that's going to be enough, if one dripper will be enough in each of the containers, then I'm set. I've got all of that I need. If not, then I've got to get more drippers and more tees so that I can put like 2 in each one. So we'll see. I kind of have a feeling one's going to be enough. So I don't know. Not done this before. That's kind of like the most awesome part, and in my opinion of it, is that I'm not going at this, meaning the small grow tent, I'm not going at this completely blind and a complete idiot or anything like that. No, I'm going at it from a geek perspective, from a nerd's perspective. Okay, that's the interesting thing of it. I'm not a gardener. I've never been. I'm not a green thumb. It's just not something I've really been involved in a lot in my life. And so, I'm just going by the theory of how plants grow and what they take to grow and the different things that, increase, their growth rate as well as their vitality and everything else. There's all kinds of numbers that you can keep an eye on, pH levels, fertilizer level, all kinds of numbers that you can keep an eye on to promote the most positive growth of that plant possible. There's a lot of science to it. And so what I'm trying to do is trying to approach it from that scientific angle, but at the same time using the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, and keeping it not only simple but economic, so that if I achieve this, then what I'm essentially doing is showing all of you how to build an economic system that goes way above and beyond what a lot of the other systems do. And I think this system is going to do that because of the type of system it is. If you go through and you look, and sorry, I'm not trying to make the show about hydroponics, but if you go and you look at all the different systems and how they work, and there's I forget if it's 5 or 6 or something like that, types of hydroponic systems. And if you look at all the different types of hydroponic systems and how well they promote growth, you'll find out that the systems that promote the most amount of growth are the ones that you are able to not only provide direct nutrients to the roots, but also provide oxygen, air to the roots at the same time. So essentially aerating your roots at the same time as making sure there's positive contact all the time with nutrient solution on the roots, doing both at the same time, and you really promote the growth of that plant. So that's what my system does, and instead of using an aerator in each of the containers, it doesn't need to, because that nutrient solution is going to be draining down the roots, past the roots, down to the bottom of the container. So the roots are always going to have that constant supply of nutrient solution and oxygen, because it's in, there's a million names for it. I call them clay pebbles. So anyway, so the roots are going to get plenty of air as well as plenty of nutrient solution. So again, approaching it from a scientific angle at the same time with redneck ingenuity, and trying to build a scientifically sound system for cheap. And that's what I'm trying to do. On top of all of that, be able to increase production of food as much as I possibly can, because I'm a prepper. To me, it just makes sense. It just makes sense that I want to create as much food as I can in as small space as I can. It just makes sense. And if I can achieve that for myself and along the way help you guys do it too, We all win. So, anyway, we're close. We are very, very close to that. Like I say, down to needing the tube and the tees. That's it. And then we're good to go. So, all the seeds are in. Actually, Amazon delivered a package today that had the rest of the stuff, the rest of the seeds and grommets and stuff like that. So, speaking of that, tomorrow I'll be doing a video on how I'm going to do the video of me putting the grommets in the containers and showing you how I'm setting up the drains. I won't be able to complete it without the hose and the tees, but I'll be able to show you how I'm setting it up, and you'll get the idea. And then when I do get the rest of the stuff, I'll just throw it together real quick, and then that's when I'll make a video of the test. I'll bring you guys along for the very first test of the system. I won't even test it out off camera first. I'll test it out on camera. So I'm high confidence it's going to work fine. So in fact, I've only got one concern about that system, and that's the pump that I chose is going to be too big. So if that's the worst thing. But there is a slim possibility that the little pumps that I have might be big enough to run that system, but that's a big if. So anyway, sorry, we're 17 minutes in and I haven't even spoke about the topic. So and now I'm trying to think of what initially I was involved in conversation on Facebook this morning that actually led to me deciding to talk about this today, and I can't even really remember which group it was in. It was really not anything really important. It was either a drone group or a flight simulator group, one of the two. I can't remember which one. But anywho, got to talking about change and especially Americans' fear of change. And I got to thinking about that on a side note while I was having this other conversation about change and SHTF and the paralyzing fear that a lot of people are going to experience, especially during the early onset of SHTF. And I want to talk to that a little bit. We kind of shot ourselves as Americans in our own feet. And why I say that is because we have become very, well, I guess hard-headed. We're very accustomed to our ways. We don't want to change whatsoever. And for the most part, we're not very open to new things. And I do have a few examples to give of this. I'm not just saying this because I want to say it. But here's something that I found really interesting, and I put a lot of thought into this today when I did think about it, because I had to. I felt like I had no choice but to try to get to the root of it. And I'm talking about measurement systems, okay? So, as you know, if you're from the United States, we typically use standard measurement here. And as you know, across the world, most countries use metric. Here we use both. And I can remember being young, and I can remember hearing a talk wherever that may be, whether it be school, home, wherever. I remember hearing talk about the possibility of them ditching the standard measurement system. And I can remember my dad throwing a fit. I can remember being upset about it myself. And I went through a pretty good part of my life hating metric. Hating it. Why? Because it was the most un-American, unpatriotic bullshit that I had ever heard of. What? Yeah. When I sat down and thought about it today as to why I didn't like metric, that's why. The reality of it was because somehow I disassociated metric with an American system. So therefore it had to be inferior. Hey, I'm just as susceptible to it as anybody else. Told you, I had to sit down and think about this today. Where the hell did this come from? Why did I not like metric? Because let me tell you something. I got a little older. Well, okay, a lot older. And I started making e-juice, right? And that's, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've messed with metric wrenches and stuff like that. And, I've had to work with metric for a long time. But it wasn't until making e-juice that it really shined for me. Because everything I could do by tens. Okay, and it was so super simple. Everything I did by tens, and it made it all so easy. Everything was done with percentages and like I say, multiples of tens, and it made it so super easy to mix e-juice. I can't even imagine if I was trying to use standard measurements. I can't even imagine. It'd be a pain in the ass. But using metric, it makes it so much easier to do. Now, if you have to do much converting of numbers or anything like that, you learn real quick that metric's the way to go. But for most of my life, I hated it. Not because it wasn't better, but literally because of brainwashing. I mean, this is take all the roses off of it, you know? So that's one thing. The other thing, and this is what it was. This is what we were talking about. Duh, and it wasn't even in a group, sorry. It was in just a conversation on a Facebook friends page. Electric vehicles. That not another area that now we're really dealing with today that a lot of people are really having a hard time coping with? Electric vehicles. Man, that just doesn't, that just gets the blood boiling in some people. Not me. And the reason why is because, for one, I embrace technology. Well, there's a million reasons. I probably should number them because there's a million. I embrace technology. I understand the technology, which is huge. And I understand the advancements, which is also huge. Remember this. Anytime you ever hear somebody arguing against alternative forms of energy or power or anything like that, understand that you're probably about to hear a list of talking points, and that pretty much all of those talking points are based on super old data. Yeah. They want to come at you with the specs of panels and stuff like that back from like the 90s, and wanna try to compare it to panels of today. For instance, same's true with battery technology, right? Now, I'm all for getting this hemp graphene out there and really showing the world what we can do with battery storage with things like graphene technology. But for the time being, there's a technology out there that seems to be very promising, and it's like Pro4. And it seems to be very, very promising for many, many reasons. And the efficiency of it is just mind-blowing. The charge rate and capability, all that, how quickly you can charge it to full capacity is mind-blowing. Literally mind-blowing. And when you do the math, when you think about it, it's like, wait a minute. You're charging this that much faster than the time you could take to use it? Think about that. If you've got an electric vehicle, and let's say it takes you 2 hours to charge it, but you can drive for 3.5, 4 hours. Think about that. No, you're not creating anything more than what you're using. That's not what's going on here. It's a numbers game. Okay, you're dealing with a bunch of series of numbers. You've got amps, you've got volts, you've got and so you've got to play nutshells or whatever with the numbers. But it comes out that you are, with the new battery technology, you can actually get ahead as far as your charge time versus use time. Okay, you can actually get ahead, and it's not because you're, like I say, you can't, at least we don't know yet, how to produce energy out of nothing, I guess you could say. In other words, you're not just going to automatically have more energy, but because of the differences in the voltages and the amperages and stuff like that you're using, you charge it at different volts than what you're utilizing it at in a lot of cases, especially when you're talking about electric vehicles. So, essentially, you can actually get ahead now, which was unheard of back in the day. Okay, back in the day, it would take you several hours to charge up a battery that you might be able to use for half an hour or 45 minutes. Okay. Especially going back like Nike had technology and stuff like that. But that's not the way the case is today. Technology's a lot better. But getting people to come around and understand that, which is the whole point of what I'm talking about, it's almost impossible. And I've tried to explain to people, and that's why I chose electric vehicles as an example. I've tried to explain it to people, and it's so hard for folks to grasp. I couldn't tell you the amount of times I've been flat out called a liar when I've told people that trains run on electric motors. I've been called a liar so many times for that, and I don't know what to tell them, but that's how trains operate. The big diesel engines that you hear, you know, those aren't driving the wheels on that train. Those are driving a big generator, a huge generator that produces electricity that powers electric motors, huge electric motors that drive the wheels on the train. That's how a train operates. I'm not talking about the old choo-choo trains. I'm not talking about the coal-fired trains. I'm talking about anything even remotely modern. So, I don't know, probably going back maybe 50s, 60s. I don't quote me, but I'm guessing it would go back to that far when they were using electric motors on trains. Not real positive on that, but it certainly goes back near there. So anyway, as Americans, we aren't very hip about change, and I'm afraid that is going to be a big hurdle. When we look out at society today, we see some pretty crazy stuff. People absolutely just losing their shit over the silliest things. For the last year and a half or so, ever since we've been dealing with this Operation Cluster, we've seen a lot more of it, quite frankly. And we haven't even had anything that I would say most of us, let me make that clear, that I would say is tragic. Now, for those who have lost loved ones and stuff like that during this time period, that sucks. Any way you look at it. Because everything involved with it. But most of us haven't been hit with an all-out SHTF like we would be if there was no power or no stores, what have you. I think one of the biggest initial killers after SHTF is actually going to boil down to denial. I think that's going to be one of the biggest initial killers is going to be denial. It's going to be a reluctancy to react. Now, I'm choosing my words carefully there. A reluctancy to react. And the reason why I'm choosing my words carefully there is because from hopefully most of us, it's not going to be a reaction, it's going to be an action. So hopefully for most of us, the worst it could get would be a reluctancy to act, not a reluctancy to react. It's two totally different things. And I think that's really going to trip a lot of people up. For one, I think that there are going to be many souls lost simply because of people wanting to be nice. People wanting to continue living like we are right this very moment. And there comes a point in societal breakdown where that's just no longer possible. It's just not. We've actually already, have we not already reached a point of that here in the United States right now? To where we have to be at a little heightened sense? I think so. And I don't go anywhere. But I'm still at a heightened sense. There's a lot. And I'm telling you, those war drums aren't any quieter. They're still beating awful loud. So, yeah, I've remained at a pretty heightened sense. I mean, nothing's getting better. I think one of the most beneficial things that somebody can do right now in preparation for SHTF is to work on those mental skills. You know, that's the good thing about that is it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to go out and shop. If we don't get used to these things, you know, there, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but there are some prepper channels that I like. You know, I do. But you can tell that with their personality type, that when it gets real, they're going to snap. Because they're, I mean, I'm OCD. I have my OCD ways, believe me, and they're strong. But I am not one of those people that freak out if something don't work like it's supposed to. In fact, I would be more likely to freak out if I never had anything to work on. I'm OCD that way, right? That would be torture to me. Torture to me would be forcing me to live a life to where I couldn't tinker. That would be absolute torture. But I think for many people, when the major event, whichever it is that unfolds, because it kind of, in many cases, boils down to the same thing. I think many people aren't going to be able to handle that change. Again, I remind you of the last year and a half. Look at how, well, I guess I can't say I've ever actually personally looked it up, but I keep hearing that the suicide rates are through the roof and have been through the roof. I keep hearing it. I honestly haven't looked it up myself. So, I really do see something coming down at us. And I really think it's a good idea if folks get their heads right when it comes to change. And how did I word this? Because it feels like I'm missing something here. Fear and change, acceptance and coping. Acceptance is probably one of the most important things a person can work on. Truly is. That whole serenity prayer thing, very important to me. And I'm not a recovered alcoholic or anything like that. But that has allowed me, enabled me to be able to actually sort my life out. That one little tidbit of knowledge there, wisdom, has enabled me to be able to keep my life in order. In whatever screwed up way that it is, I'm here, I'm still kicking, and I'm still fighting. And I think it's really important that folks need that folks learn how to cope. I can't tell you necessarily that I know how to cope, because my method of coping is not coping. I've got, and I'm not happy about, I'm not proud of it, but through the trauma that I've dealt with throughout my life, I have the ability to kind of just shut off my emotion and just absolutely not give a damn. Again, in fact, I don't even wish that on anybody. I really don't. But whatever you can find healthy to cope, you need to learn those skills. So make sure it's healthy. So that's the other big tool in my toolbox. That was how it started for me turning my life around, which took a long time. I mean, decades. You know, but that's how it started. So, with me asking myself, is this healthy? What I had to do, literally nonstop, ask myself, is this healthy? Is the way you're thinking healthy? And I was able to prevent myself from doing a lot of dumb stuff just by asking that simple, basic question. But you got to be honest with yourself. I mean, that's the whole thing. None of this works without self-discipline. Plain and simple. You've got to achieve the self-discipline first. Nothing ever that you can do will be truly rooted in success without that first. So, got to have a good foundation. Gotta have a good foundation. Hey there, just saying. Been alright. Been hanging in there. Hope you've been well. But yeah, I mean, most important things going into these times is be able to deal with that change. Understand it's coming and accept it. Like I was saying, that's probably the biggest part of it, is accepting it. You know, looking at it and staring it right in the face and saying, okay, you know, this is the way it is. And then once you do that, believe it or not, it gets a lot easier. Once you accept it, it gets a lot easier. But work on coping mechanisms and put, I call them tools in your toolbox. Psychological tools in your toolbox. And they span a wide range of things. It's mental things. It could be hot cocoa packets, okay, chocolate bars. It's important that you do these things. It's really important that you do these things, because being able to keep our head in the right place after a major event is going to make all the difference. So anyway, it was on my heart to talk about that today. I don't know if somebody needed to hear it or what the deal was, but I just do what I'm told. Anyway, we do have a ton of headlines. I don't think I've got any more updates as far as, I did take kind of a cool picture today. I was going to show you guys that. I was kind of hoping to get a real ugly, nasty looking storm coming in, and I was unsuccessful on that. However, I did get kind of a cool looking cloud and country scene, so anyway. That direction? Yeah, the drone was pretty much straight up, so pointing that way. So, oops, I didn't even have this on the right one. Ah, there we go. Oh, anywho, yep, that's all I did was take it straight up essentially and snap a picture, and well, several, but I like the pano, but because I like panos. But as far as single images, that's my favorite single image that I got today. Anywho, I didn't take a bunch, 4 pictures. So, and one other quick mention, I have changed up and added to a little bit to the website. Didn't do a whole bunch to it, but I'm trying to set it up for expansion. And so I did have indoor gardening right there and just a button to click straight to it. Now I've changed that to projects because it just makes more sense, and I'm breaking it down to like indoor gardening, solar, the Coleman stove, and all that. Most of these links don't really do much of anything yet, but I mean, they'll take you to an empty page. But anyway, I am going to be working over this over the coming days, weeks, months, and actually building something on the site. So I figured I might as well do what I know how to do. I mean, hell. Anyway, thought I would mention that. So, but there is stuff on the indoor gardening part, the vlog article. I haven't added any more to it, but there is stuff there for those interested, and I will be adding to that very soon. In fact, probably tomorrow after I get done with that video, it'll get added to it. So anyway, let's do some headlines. and get out of here. Sip of tea. Oh, like I said, news has been all over the place this weekend, so. That building in Florida, which is the first headline, man. And I don't think that they're, I'm sure they'll be investigating quite a bit. I'm hearing that there was a sinkhole. I'm also hearing that the building was in some pretty rough shape. So I'm kind of waiting to see something, and there may be something out there now, actually official, saying that there was a sinkhole involved. Hold on. I'll look. But, I'll tell you what, either way, there's going to be some people in trouble over that. Nope, that was 2013. Yeah. So I don't think that there's anything official anyway saying that a sinkhole is involved. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Crazy incident. Insane. And it just seems odd, the whole situation, and I haven't dug a lot into it yet, and the reason why is because this is one of those situations. It's like some of the shootings that happen, I don't rush out of the gate to start talking about it, and the reason why is because there's such a flurry of misinformation that comes out right away. That I don't want to get caught up in any of that. I want to sit back, I want to watch, I want to see what comes out, and then go from there. Man, it's too easy just to jump to conclusions, and I don't want to fall for that. So this is one of those situations, indeed one of those situations, to where I'm kind of sitting back, waiting to see if anybody officially says anything about any kind of sinkhole activity there. But as it stands, I mean, it can be it can be pretty well assumed that the building was in pretty bad shape. So now, how bad, I don't know. Again, I haven't dug into that very deep yet. And again, I'm sure there's a lot of investigating going on right now, and there is a lot of information that I'm confident will come out about this. And rightfully so. And I really do hope that they go hard after anybody that involved in not seeing that this building was properly maintained and repaired. I don't like cities. I don't like big buildings, right? I would not live in one. It blows my mind how somebody could live in a huge apartment building up on, and I'm going to say, I don't know, 14th floor, right? Blows my mind. I couldn't do it. I could not sleep at night. I couldn't do it. I know that may sound strange to a lot of people, but I don't know what kind of phobia that would be, to be honest. It is clearly a phobia, but I don't honestly know which one. I'll have to dig into that. But the idea of not being able to easily get out doesn't sit well with me. And that's why I prefer just, ground level. At very most upstairs, 1 story, at very most. But anyway, and I don't even like that. This is why. This is why. Because, man, you're at the mercy of the almighty dollar, actually. Because you can bet, and when it comes down to it, that's why that building fell, was greed. Somebody was trying to make as much money renting it out or what have you. Put a little into it. I mean, that's kind of, unfortunately, the way businesses are mostly modeled today. That's not, I don't think that makes for good business. Anyway, that's the first headline. That just reminded me of that, and that was probably one of the bigger headlines over the days off there. And I've been thinking about that a lot. That's a horrific situation. And what bothers me the most, and the last number I saw was 9. I don't know where it's at now. But I think at some point this morning or today I saw something like there was 9 people that were found at this point. But then last night I remembered a headline that said something like 159 still missing, or yesterday I saw that headline or something. And it's like, geesh, if you understand how this works, you understand that time's not on our side here at all, as in pretty much call it, it's recovery. And that just doesn't sit well with me, all because I'm assuming that somebody was trying to save a few bucks. And this is what pisses me off the most about that. If it even really makes it anywhere as far as court, it probably won't be a criminal court. And if it is, the people responsible won't go away like they should. They should literally be charged with however many counts of whatever the specific charge would be. I don't want to just go blow some bullshit out of my mouth and say, oh, murder 1, No, whatever the specific charge that they would fall under. Might be manslaughter, it might be whatever, and then there's a number, whatever. I'm not one that likes to speak out my ass and say, oh, it's going to be murder 3, and I have no idea. Laws are different in different states. But they definitely need to go away. They definitely need to go away. And sadly, it won't happen. Company will get fined. They'll get fines. They'll get fines. That just pisses me off to no end. Because you and I could have an accident that cost somebody else their life, an accident, and wind up in a bizarre chain of events in prison over it. It's happened. Anywho. Alright. Let's see. Starting with Friday's news. Biden declares Florida building collapse a national emergency, authorizes FEMA and other federal agencies to join response efforts. Beijing complains to WTO over Australia's wrong practices, citing historic moves against Chinese products. Kazakhstan, if I'm saying the name right, is fighting fierce new battles over its colossal gold deposits, but is it a state-backed raid or a triumph of justice? I have no idea. Japan's PM dismisses claim by royal household chief that emperor is very worried about Olympic Games spreading COVID. Brazil's top court tosses graft cases against ex-president Lula, furthering new bid for presidency. Chinese banks now hold over $1 trillion in foreign reserves. Taiwan tightens coronavirus border controls over Delta variant spread. Let me move this over here. Oh, duh. I'm a tard. Put down the pipe, man. Central Sydney and Bondi Beach to enter week-long lockdown to thwart COVID Delta variant. Ryanair, did I just read the same one twice? No, I didn't. Okay. Ryanair jet grounding activists Protasevich and Sepega have been released from Belarusian prison cells to house arrest, their families say. Hands face space, Brits troll health secretary for not following own guidance over reports of sneaky affair with aide. Yeah, this was big news over the weekend as well. Court documents shed new light on FBI's mysterious hunt for fabled Civil War-era gold cache in Pennsylvania. I'd like to know where that's at. Shooting involving police near Portland motel leads to Antifa clashing with officers. I'm pretty sure walking down the same street would lead to Antifa clashing with officers, but hey. Landmark court ruling overturns oppressively unfair anti-LGBT Hong Kong housing policy. El Salvador to make Bitcoin legal tender in September. So actually getting the framework laid out, it sounds like. Homeless migrants camp, yeah, I did have that right. Homeless migrants camp outside Paris City Hall to demand accommodation solution. Well, my dad used to say, in one hand and wish in the other. Israel forced to reimpose COVID mask requirement 10 days after ending it amid a spike in cases. British PM Boris Johnson personally ordered warship into Crimean waters, ignoring warnings of his foreign secretary, says media report. Amazon and Google under UK competition watchdog scrutiny for not doing enough to tackle fake review scourge on their platforms. Let's see. Who are you? Conservatives ask after former Trump admin staffer threatens to run against ex-president in 2024 to split the vote. Dude, seriously. I mean, I really don't think that he'd even come close to splitting the vote. I'm just saying, you guys know I'm not a Trump fan, but I'm a realist, and yeah. I'm not saying that nobody could beat Trump in the primaries. Nah. I think there's plenty of people that could, but not this cat. Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, receives first dose of domestic vaccine to honor country's scientists. And then he died. No, I'm kidding. Horrific fire kills 18, mostly children, in early morning blaze at Chinese martial arts center. A manager is arrested. Russian Navy and Air Force begin major exercise in Mediterranean Sea as supersonic interceptor planes join country's Black Sea Fleet. India's Serum Institute kicks off production of variant-busting Novavax COVID shot. Israeli police arrest armed man suspected of plotting attack on Tel Aviv Pride Parade, which blows my mind, but... Crypto per carat, Sotheby's, I don't know how to pronounce it, to accept cryptocurrency for diamond auction. I'm not in that tier of to even have heard of that before, because, yeah, I don't trade in diamonds too often. Bacteria may be driver of 70% of genes believed to control aging, a groundbreaking study indicates. Gavi Alliance approves more funds for delivery of COVAX vaccines as poorer nations desperate for COVID-19 shots. Two far eastern Russian cities suspend COVID-19 vaccinations with demand for doses soaring as country fights spike in new cases. Still on Friday, by the way. Quite a few Friday's headlines. French president does not want to kick Hungary out of EU despite LGBT rights row. No more shame, 62% of the vote in favor of easing Gibraltar's draconian abortion laws. France and Turkey tensions easing, but Europe remains cautious, President Macron claims. Things are going to get more difficult. Death toll in Miami building collapse rises to 4 as officials report 159 missing. And again, this is Friday's news, so that's going to be outdated numbers. Torch-carrying Palestinians protest new Israeli settlement in West Bank. Denmark to continue suspension of AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccines over possible harmful effects. Russia sends fighter jets capable of firing hypersonic Kinzhal missile to Syria for the first time as part of Mediterranean training. Conflicts of interest alleged in multi-layered web of influence as Big Pharma pays millions to informal parliament groups. A new law passed in Germany to give descendants of Nazi-era refugees easier access to citizenship. Even young Republicans are growing tired of capitalism, American pollsters say. I think they're getting tired of the crap. Anybody with two brain cells to rub together knows that what we are living right now, what we are seeing, is not capitalism. I mean, it's not even remotely close to capitalism. And I think for any individual that understands that, I don't think they're tired of capitalism, because they know this ain't it. They want to keep telling us that it's capitalism, because I think that that's what they want us to do. They want to turn us against capitalism. So, whatever the label you want to call it, corporatism, there's a million labels. Whatever you want to call it, it's not capitalism. Let's see. Free-flowing pints and party from the gods. Boozy students threatened with bans as hundreds invade UK cricket ground. British Olympic boss says some athletes refusing COVID vaccine ahead of Tokyo 2020 games. I figured that was going to happen. Russian who became millionaire due to banking error sentenced to 6 years behind bars after spending on property, cars, and travel. 6 cases of Lambda COVID variant first found in Peru confirmed in England. Hang on, let me get a sip of tea. India's IT minister blasts Twitter after being locked out of account amid state's ongoing row with tech giant. Astonishing double standards. Brits outraged over Bojo accepts Health Secretary Matt Hancock's apology for snogging aide. You gotta love when I read articles from RT because the language, the words that they use are not American dialect. Kind of funny sometimes. Car bomb attack wounds 15 German UN peacekeepers in northern Mali. 1 in 10 Australians in Victoria seriously considered suicide during lockdown. 12% used substance abuse to cope, says a survey. Still on Friday. IAEA demands immediate response from Iran over extending nuclear monitoring agreement. Biden supporters sue Trump train and Texas police over 2020 road ambush and claim psychological and emotional injuries. Now, that was an incident that was a bunch of BS there. It's really disgusting. I mean, what bothers me the most about this incident is the individuals that tried to downplay the incident and man, the right throws a fit when the left blocks a road. Could you imagine what the right would think if the left started chasing them down in vehicles? Again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I've got that uncanny ability to put myself in somebody else's shoes, or at least close. I do it all the time. And since I don't subscribe to any political party or any type of ideology like that, pretty plain as day to me. We got to do better. Both sides. And in the middle. All of us. We got to do better. This is not... and I'm not... I guess I hold the right to a little higher standard, to be honest. I mean, reason why should be common sense. But let's see. Thousands protest in the West Bank after funeral of critic of Palestinian Authority. A dead and injured after knife-wielding man goes on rampage in Germany's Wurzburg. Russian authorities to investigate after reports emerge of country's first detached case of Delta plus COVID-19 strain. I'm telling you, they're going to have a non-stop boogeyman when it comes to COVID. Restoring the society we have longed for, Iceland dropping domestic COVID restrictions on masks and social distancing. The Biden Department of Justice sues Georgia over racist voting law and says it will prosecute threats against election workers U.S.-wide. Boris Johnson's food policy strategist says meat tax may be necessary, but warns of food riots if brought in too soon, says reports. Now, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this not telling you exactly what they're doing? I mean, as in the frog in the boiling pot of water thing? So they're saying, yeah, you're going to get a meat tax, but not yet, because you might get a little too pissed off right now. But you're going to get one. Montreal Canadiens fans riot and flip over cop car following win to reach Stanley Cup Finals. Mike Pence declares he was proud to certify Biden's victory, setting off storm of criticism from everyone. Residents of homeless migrant camp outside Paris City Hall given temporary shelter after protest. Derek Chauvin sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison over murder of George Floyd. Yeah, that was also in the news. I was pretty shocked at that, to be honest. I didn't think he would quite get that many years. And I know I should have knew better. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be convicted on the level that he was, but not my first trip. Kamala Harris snaps at press during border appearance after a reporter asked why visit took so long. John McAfee's widow insists husband was not suicidal and blames U.S. government for his death. Still on Friday. Iran says it's not required to comply with UN nuclear watchdog's demand of immediate response or extending monitoring deal. U.S. troops staying in Syria to fight ISIS and stabilize liberated areas, says an envoy. Sesame Street tells Asian kids to be proud of their eyes in a new video. Wait a minute. Is that not racist? I would think that it's racist to point out the difference in their eyes. Am I wrong? I mean, if I was to walk up to an Asian person right now and say, your eyes look different, not even say your eyes look funny, your eyes look different, would that not be, I don't know if racist is quite the right term, but you follow what I'm saying. This anti-racism crap is so racist, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just dripping with racism. Ridiculous. I mean, I agree. I think Asian people are very attractive, to be honest. But that's my personal preference. You know? Some people like blondes, some people like brunettes, some people like, you know what I'm saying? But we don't go around telling individuals to be proud of their, their eyes when the only difference in them is because they're slanted. That's kind of racist. I don't know. Sorry, it blows my mind. I can't stand discrimination. I can't stand it. And when I see people being discriminatory and acting as if they're being anti-discriminatory, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Sorry. Long-awaited UFO report mentions no aliens, but asks for more money for U.S. spies. Saturday. On that, I'm going to have a drink. Just straight tea. Well, sugar. Okay. Saturday. Helicopter carrying Colombia's president and top government ministers comes under fire. ancient 140,000-year-old dragon man skull found hidden in Chinese well where it languished, abandoned for decades. This is interesting. Very interesting. Again, another one of those situations to where I'm not jumping to any conclusions yet. We're going to stick with you. Biden tells Afghan president at White House promising sustained partnership. Sydney enters hard 2-week COVID lockdown after authorities report 80 cases of Delta variant. Russia to introduce export duties on metals to protect domestic market from price spikes. Boris Johnson's decision to send a warship to contested Crimea shows lonely Brexit Britain is lost at sea. Obviously, it's kind of an opinion piece, but a lot of good information in it. And it was truthful information. Hammered by infectious new Delta variant, Russia is now finding it has to get deadly serious about COVID-19 vaccine reluctance. I'm telling ya. Microsoft reports previously undetected security breach while investigating SolarWinds hack. China now India's second largest export partner. Violent winds topple trees and brick walls after tornado rips through London borough. Amazon acquires secure messaging app Wicker used by the Pentagon. Tesla to recall 285,000 plus cars in China over faulty cruise control software, says a Beijing regulator. That's a few cars. Assange's partner Stella Morris says she plans to marry WikiLeaks co-founder in Belmarsh prison. Engineer warned of major structural damage years before Florida condo complex collapsed, says the media. What if we're the ants in this network of civilizations, asks UFO expert, as he says we should prepare for imminent ET contact. I figured what the hell I'd share the article. I don't know on this. I think it's very possible we've been in contact for some time. Possible. Not saying we have. If we haven't, then I would have to agree. If we haven't truly had ongoing, willing contact, I'm not talking about being sucked up through a tube of light in the middle of the night and having your butt probed. I'm talking about willing contact. Sorry for the visual. I think it's imminent. I would agree. The subject I've researched for a very, very, very long time. And a lot of things that I researched way back when are now coming out to light as being real. I'm going to be honest, I think we're being watched. And I think that there are, whatever you want to call them, a species and a group or whatever you want to call them, that will intervene if we go too far. I think they've done it in the past. I think we've already reached that point. And there's actual documentation of this. I'm not just making it up. Want to know what I'm referencing to? Look at, you can research about how our missile systems had went offline. I mean, multiple instances. An object would appear, our missile systems would go offline, wouldn't be able to do anything with them. The object would disappear, boom, they'd pop up. They could run all the diagnostics all day long. Nothing would show wrong, right? On the same token, other nations, right? Our systems would go down. Other nations, their systems would come up, go online. Nobody turned it on. You can go and research this stuff. This information's out there. So, yeah, if we haven't been in contact, I think it's imminent. But I think we have. In fact, I think there's probably a lot more to the story than what we've been told so far. And there's been a few theories, conspiracy theories nonetheless. I tend to think there's one out there that sounds pretty likely. And that's that pretty much governments at this point have been given an ultimatum. And that includes revealing their existence to us. So, I don't know, just a conspiracy theory out there. That's just a tiny bit of the whole big theory, but if that kind of stuff interests you, check it out. Anyway, John McAfee tried to kill himself in prison once already, a Spanish newspaper claims. Wurzburg knife killer had ISIS propaganda and may have been motivated by jihad, says a report. On Saturday, yesterday's news. Iran begins production of Russia's Sputnik V vaccine against COVID-19. Chinese IPOs in U.S. hit record high despite tightened scrutiny on foreign investors. Turkey's Erdogan launches construction of Istanbul Canal mega project and says it will be completed in 6 years. MAGA supporters flock to Ohio to attend first Trump rally since January's Capitol unrest. A huge anti-lockdown protest hits London as city braces for weekend of demonstrations. UK Health Secretary Matt Hancock resigns after COVID-breaching kiss caught on camera. Johnson & Johnson settles opioid case in New York and will pay up to $230 million and stop selling deadly drugs in the U.S. U.S. push to extend cross-border aid opening is aimed at supplying terrorist groups and prolonging war, says Syrian Foreign Minister to RT. Shocking video shows fatal hot air balloon crash in New Mexico. I Facebook friends with somebody that is in New Mexico and kind of runs around in the hot air balloon circles there, and kind of sad. He took it pretty hard, you know. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, same's true in ultralight aviation. In fact, if you know something happens with the balloon pilot, it hits the ultralight guys too. You know, it's all kind of experimental ultralight aviation, whether it be a balloon or fixed wing or powered parachute, or you know, we're all kind of pioneers, if you will. So, not pioneers, that ain't the right word, but it's not a big club. Not a big club. Return of the Donald verified Trump account appears on Rumble video platform. Moscow police break up opposition Communist Party rally against mandatory COVID-19 vaccination. Snowden declares end of case against Julian Assange after newspaper reveals lies by key witness in U.S. extradition case. Let's see. Do you miss me? Trump taunts fake news media, blasts Biden, and teases potential 2024 run at first rally since January. Let's see. Oh, yay. Now we're to last night. Oh, there we are. Okay. After, let's see. Oh, that was last night. Okay. This morning. After years of massive losses, U.S. shale eyes a $60 billion year. Turkish police used tear gas to break up unauthorized pride march in Istanbul. Volkswagen to stop selling combustion engine vehicles in Europe by 2035. Classified British military documents allegedly found at bus stop considered how Russia might react to Crimea naval incursion, says the media. China's investment in new Silk Road countries exceed $130 billion. A wrong Sydney pub listed as COVID exposure site, people mistakenly forced to isolate while possibly contagious ones roamed free. Ex-Finance Minister Sajid Javid named UK Health Secretary after Hancock resigns over COVID rules breaching extramarital romance. Bitcoin will go all the way to 160,000 this year, CEO of crypto lending platform predicts. Russia's largest gold mining company to boost output amid global production drop. Air Force Station rocked by blast and suspected drone attack in India's Jammu and Kashmir. BBC's Andrew Marr says he caught COVID-19 after vaccine. China's industrial profits soar over 83% in 5 months of 2021. 007 agents aren't what they used to be. Russian Foreign Ministry mocks discovery of documents linked to UK Navy's Crimea incursion. Death toll in Miami building collapse rises to 9 as rescue teams keep working nonstop. China releases new videos and sounds of Martian rover landing, rolling off platform, and patrolling the red planet. Iran says it will never give nuclear site images to UN watchdog as monitoring deal expires. Eco study warns Israel's open spaces will shrink as its population grows, and the settlement question is the elephant in the room. Pentagon announces carrying out strikes on Iraq-Syria border at Biden's direction. And lastly here, Singapore doctors call halt to COVID vaccination of teens as unexplained death of 13-year-old boy probed in the U.S. And that would be all of them. Oops, I guess I could have went back to the home page of the website. Anyway, there's your headlines. Start of a new week. Fun times. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. Expect a video tomorrow on me putting the grommets for the drains for the small grow tent. So expect that video to come out tomorrow. And go from there. So I hope you all have a great night. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. Shalom.